Kia ora, welcome back. I'm the KiwiCoder, and today I'm just going to show you how to create like a really basic walk cycle for your character. So this is using all the rig setup that I've covered in my previous videos, and we'll be looking at the action editor, the graph editor, and just like a basic sort of walk cycle. Cool. So let's get into it. Just before we get started, I want to point out the key poses in a walk cycle. You have the contact pose, the down pose, the pass pose, and the up pose. So you'll hear a lot of animators like talking about these individual poses, and there's kind of certain characteristics that you should pay attention to. The first one is the head position. So in the contact pose, it's kind of at a mid-range height. The down pose is the lowest point in the animation. The pass pose is just above the contact pose, and the up pose is the highest point in the animation. So this basically gives the character the kind of bob as they walk. And the other bits to kind of pay attention to are the feet. So the contact pose, the foot is just making contact with the ground on this frame. The down pose, it's firmly planted, and it basically just moves back throughout the cycle, and finally we start to lift the heel up just on the up pose. And similarly, the back foot here, its heel is lifted completely off the ground, but the foot is still attached to the ground. The down pose, basically the foot is now, it's coming forward. It's like the first kind of frame of the foot actually starting to come forward. The pass pose, the knee is now past the other knee, the opposite leg's knee position, and the leg is coming through. And on the up pose, it is just about to make contact again. So the other thing is just the arm positions. So on the down pose, you can see that the arms are at the most extreme on this frame here. They're at their widest point, and it's a really good idea to memorize these poses for a walk cycle. You can just type this into Google walk cycle, and you'll get something coming up. There's also like variations on this. You also have like run cycles, swim cycles. It's a pretty good way to figure out the basic kind of structure for like an animation. And we are going to place each of these poses 3 frames apart in a 25 frame animation cycle in Blender. That's pretty standard at 25 frames per second. That's basically a 1 second walk cycle. Um, so let's move into Blender. So I've got this character here, and I've just got like a really sort of basic rig setup where I can move the hips, can move the arms, and there's not too much to it really. If you want to know how I've like created this rig, then you can check out my previous tutorials in this series. They've basically built up to this point. So I have all the bones and everything on different layers. So these 2 layers here, these 2 bone layers, I have for the feet. These ones I have for the arms, and this final one I have for the spine and the head. And if I have them all selected, then they all appear in the scene, and I can move them all around at once. And I've also sort of just donated the green for the left side of the body and the red for the right side of the body, and blue is just middle, just kind of helps to visually differentiate the bones from each other. So just a few more things before we actually start. Basically, I've got the action editor open down here, so you can open that by going to dope sheet and then go to action editor. To be honest, I'm really not sure why Blender has both of these. It's mind-boggling. Like the action editor is basically a duplicate of the dope sheet, except it has like a little bit more stuff. I'm not really sure what the dope sheet is for. I never use it. Blender is not my favorite program. It's got a lot of weird quirks that I've had to get around, but that's just something. Like here's another one. I have this extra panel open down here for the timeline, because this panel is the only one that shows the start and the end frame range for your animation cycle. So I have to have this open. Which is crazy. So this basically just sets the preview range for the animation cycle. So I've got that set to 0 to 23. because I'm going to be doing 0 to 24 frames, which means it will loop perfectly. But yeah, so I just have that shoved down the bottom there. That seems to be like the proper way to work in Blender. It's crazy. Anyway, and up here I've also got the graph editor open. I highly recommend having this open while you're doing your animations, just because it really helps you to see the animation curves and adjust any sort of kind of nuances in the curves and smooth things out. It's a really easy way to modify and edit parts of your animation as well, which I'll cover later in the video. And the final thing I just want to cover are these really important buttons here. So if I just create a keyframe by dragging stuff around, for example, then it creates keyframes in here. And if I have this only show selected checked, then it will only show me the keyframes for the bone that I have selected. So if I have both selected, I can see both of them, etc. I like to just leave it off so I can always see the keyframes, but again, I think that it's quite handy to have it on if you have a lot of different bones and a lot of different keyframes. So yeah. The other thing is to actually create a new animation. You click this button here, and then you can give your animation a name like walk cycle tutorial, and I'm just going to delete these keyframes, and I will then reset everything back to the origin. Cool. This button here, actually, if I have no bone layers selected, then this one will show any of the hidden layers. So if I have a keyframe, for example, and I have that deselected, and I like basically disable all the bone layers, I can't see any of the keyframes. But if I turn it on, now I can see them. But anyway, I'm going to have all of these selected at all times anyway, so it doesn't really matter if that is on or off. Cool. Yeah, so that's basically it for the setup. Okay, so let's yeah, create a new animation, walk cycle tutorial, and actually start doing stuff. Cool. So yeah, the first thing that we'll do is basically create this this contact pose here. So I just need to move the front foot out. So I'm going to go to side view, zoom into the foot, select this bone here, and just lock it to the y-axis. And you can notice that the foot is it doesn't have the reach to actually move out to this position here. So I need to yeah, basically grab this the hip bone and move it down to place the foot on the ground, and I'll just lift the toe up a tiny bit, and now I can probably just move it out even more. I might just pull that back up slightly. Cool, and basically just do the same with the back leg. So push it out, lift the heel off the ground, push it out a little bit more. Probably not fully extended. I think yeah, it kind of becomes fully extended on the down pose, so you can leave a little bit of slack here. Yeah, so that's pretty good for the first frame. There's a few other things to kind of fix up, or just to add some extra dynamics to the character, is the hips. Basically, when your foot or your leg comes forward, this hip will rotate forwards like this to allow that to happen, basically. So yeah, if we just kind of get all these like nuances in on this first frame, then we can copy and paste them throughout the rest of the animation, which will save us some time. So yeah, that's the first one. Just rotate the hips along the character's z-axis to bring it forward a little bit. It's up to you how dramatic you want that to be, depending on your character. The next one is actually what happens again is when you're about to put all of your weight onto this foot, this is going to be the supporting leg. Your hips actually they rotate like this. And the reason for that is because your whole body is moving across this way to make this leg the center of mass. So your hips basically need to move in that direction as well. And likewise, your shoulders also move across this way. And yeah, that just means your center of gravity should be more in line with this foot here. The other thing is just when this foot comes forward, your opposite shoulder will come forward, just to basically keep the center of mass balanced again. So your left foot forward, when your left foot or left leg is forward, then your right arm will come forward, and similarly your right shoulder will come forward. So yeah, again, it's up to you like how much you want to rotate that, but yeah, I just do it like a tiny bit to start with. Sweet. So that's pretty much all of the kind of minor details for this first frame. I'll do the arms like completely separately just in a second pass. And now we want to basically copy all of these keyframes to the last and mirror them in the center. So Blender is a little bit weird again in this factor. Like if I have this bone selected, and even if I select all these keyframes and hit Control C, now when I move to the last frame and hit Control V, it only pastes this bone that I have selected in the viewport, which is really confusing. Because I box selected them all, and it's kind of like, what else was I doing? I don't know. Yeah, you can tell that Blender's not my favorite program right now. But so what you need to do is basically box select all these keyframes, and now box select all of these, hit Control Z, and now Control V, and it will paste all of them correctly. Cool, thank you, Blender. So Control Shift V will let you paste the opposite pose for the character in the middle there, and now we have basically kind of a mirrored point for the middle of our animation, and then it goes back to the start. Sweet. So that's the very high level blocking stage kind of done. Now the next part is really just filling in these intermediate poses here. So we'll move on to the down pose, and yeah, as I said, we're doing a 25 frame animation cycle with each pose 3 frames apart. So just move your cursor forward by 3 frames, and what the first thing to do is basically pull the character's hips down a little bit like this. So go to the side view, basically pull the hips down a little bit, and flatten the foot entirely here. And the next step is actually just adjusting this foot. So this foot should now kind of be off the ground and rotated a little bit like this, because it's basically pulling forward now. You could have it like, I think this actually has the foot completely flat. So yeah, it's up to you like exactly how you want it to look. Sometimes I think it looks a little bit weird having it completely flat, but let's just go with it for this video. That's fine. So yeah, so the character's up and then it kind of comes down. I might even just pull it down a little bit more, or maybe even just move this up a little bit more to just give it a bit more contrast, I guess. Cool. So I think the other thing which I saw on someone else's video was the shin should actually be in kind of like a straight line at this point, like going straight up and down in the down pose. So yeah, that's kind of just a good kind of reference to use. If it's roughly in that position, you know the foot is probably about in the right place. Sweet. So now if we go again forward 3 frames and copy the pass position, the character is pretty straight at this point and the head is gone back up from the previous frame. So first thing to do is just straighten the character up somewhat. And also the front foot should remain flat on the ground. It's really important to, well, it's not important, it's just helpful to know like where the previous frame was and where the next frame is, just to kind of get an idea of where this bone is actually going. Yeah, so for some reason the heel is not quite on the ground, and I imagine that's because I lifted the character up too high, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. And yeah, so that looks cool. This foot again, this is called the pass position. So this is where the back foot is now passing the front foot. So you can kind of adjust like where exactly you want it. It's up to you, but yeah, somewhere like that kind of seems good. I find like the one thing that just helps keep it realistic is not lifting this foot way up here. Keep it quite close to the ground, because most people do the bare minimum when they walk. They kind of like drag their feet, almost drag their feet along the ground. So you don't really need to clear the ground too much. It can remain pretty close. And I might just move that down a tiny bit just to give a little bit more slack in this leg. Cool. Something like that is probably good enough to start with. So yeah, moving again, forward 3 frames. Now we're on to the up position. This is the highest point in the animation. So I'm just going to stretch that character up, and the back foot should be, yeah, off the ground, but probably not off the ground as much as this contact pose here. So I kind of want to just, yeah, move that down. Sometimes, yeah, it takes a while to kind of get everything lined up, but I like to have the heel not as raised as in this position, because, yeah, so that the heel should basically still be lifting up between the up pose and the next contact position. But now we just have to check that this frame is still at the highest point. So yeah, probably need to bring this down and then bring this up. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get everything lined up correctly. If I bring this down a little bit more, bring this up. So that goes down. If I just move that down some more. Okay, so it goes down, then it goes up, and then it goes up some more, and then it comes back down. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, except the foot is still coming off the ground at this point. So this needs to come down a little bit more. Okay, that probably looks okay. Sweet. And then on this frame, the foot is about to make contact with the ground, so that actually doesn't look too bad. But I like to pretty much just clear the foot roll entirely on this frame and just tweak it. I kind of like to keep these feet sort of parallel and these legs kind of parallel. It doesn't matter too much. I don't know why I do that. Just symmetry, I guess. Yeah, cool. So that looks about right-ish. Now, if I copy all of these keyframes, we can just mirror them for the second part of the animation. So just select all of these, box select all of these, hit Control C, move forward 3 frames, Control Shift V, and now we have the mirrored for the second half of the animation. So yeah, you can now see the feet are walking. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. Nice. There's a few more things that we can fix up, but I just want to actually show you the power of the graph editor right now. It's really cool. So if I open, I've selected the hip bone, and now if I go to the Z location, what I can do is, yeah, hold down Control, use the middle mouse button to zoom in, and you can then see the this is the character's up and down position. So if I like grab all of these and lock it to the y-axis, for example, you can see that this is moving the character up and down. And one thing you'll notice that the tangents at the start and the end are not smooth. So that kind of adds this like stop-start feel, which is very subtle and it's really hard to notice. But if I do select all these keyframes and now hit Control Shift M and add a cycles modifier, yeah, I probably just need to fix up this keyframe a little bit just to make it line up. Now, if I hit play, the animation is actually a lot smoother. Yeah, it takes a while to kind of be able to see that, but anyway, so yeah, this basically lets you control the upper part of the character. And one thing I like to do is basically move all of these keyframes towards their local maximum, I guess. And that just means the character will be spending more time in the air than it is on the ground, which I think makes sense, like for a walk cycle. So if I just push all of these up like this, for example, you can now see that the character will come down, sort of briefly touch the ground and then bounce back up and then spend most of its time in the air, then go down and then bounce back up. And I think this gives like a more realistic kind of bounce to the character's animation. It just looks a little bit better in my opinion. So yeah, we're going to roll with that. I like to use this kind of shape for a walk cycle. I might just pull this down just a tiny bit, something like that. Just having these sort of sharp edges at the bottom and a smoother rounded edge at the top. Cool. So there's some other things that we can fix up using the graph editor is select the foot bones and if you like the character's feet are really wide apart here. So we've already created a ton of keyframes. So it's like, yeah, all we want to do is basically modify the X location of these keyframes and not affect anything else. So you can select this bone, select X location, and now if I select all these keyframes, I can grab them and move them on the y-axis, and now I can actually move the character's foot like left and right, which is really convenient because I can modify the horizontal position of the foot without mucking up any of these other keyframes that we've created for the whole walk cycle. So I'll just do the same again for the left foot, and yeah, to be honest, it doesn't really matter if these things are not exactly mirrored because there is people are not completely symmetrical, so you can just do both sides like manually, and so long as they're roughly the same, it'll still look good. The values don't need to be exactly the same, it doesn't matter too much, and I wouldn't really get bogged down in those details unless it's you actually want that. But yeah, so that's pretty good. I think we're almost done with this. The last thing is really just doing the arms. The arms are something I'm still need to master, but this is my approach so far that I've got. Basically, I grab the upper arm and just rotate it down on the first frame here, and then I go to side view, and I basically animate the arm position, just this bone here, throughout the whole thing, and then start adding detail to the elbow and the hand. So yeah, if we just quickly switch back to this view here, we've basically got this sort of position for the arms, and then the down position, they're at the most extreme, and then it just kind of swings back the other way. So this position on the first frame, the contact position, this arm should be like backwards, and this one should be forwards, something like that. And now on the down position, it's actually should be even more extreme. So again, just move the this upper part of the arm and just make it like a little bit more extreme than where it was previously. And now on the pass position, the character was pretty straight. So we can move the arms back down like this. And on the next frame, basically they should just move forward, carry on the direction that they're moving in. Yeah, not as extreme as the contact position, which will be the next frame here. And yeah, like we could basically just copy the keyframes from the first part of the animation and mirror them if we want it to be exactly kind of symmetrical. But I think that looks kind of weird actually, so I'm not going to do that. So yeah, that comes out. So I'll just move this out basically a little bit more and move that back a little bit more. And yeah, so I think now I will actually copy and paste mirrored. Does that make sense? I don't think that does make sense actually. So, because on this pose they should be more extreme. So yeah, I'm just going to do this all manually. Now the arms start coming back here. This is the pass pose on the opposite cycle. So actually this should be quite straight. And now this arm basically comes back. This one comes forward. But this frame here, the first frame should always match the last frame. Oh, God damn it. Did that thing again. Okay, cool. So now we have this like toy soldier kind of robot walk, which is looking okay, I guess, yeah. So the next bit, what we can do is basically use the graph editor here And if I zoom out, you can see how kind of uneven the rotations are. So again, if I just add a cycle modifier, then I can start sort of adjusting just the curves here. Like I'll probably just move this up a little bit, move this one down or up. I think this one and this one should probably be about 0. Then I can move that down, move that. I don't know, yeah. I pretty much just like to try to create a smooth curve from whatever keyframes I had. Yeah, I don't know. Looks okay, I guess. Cycles. So that's going up, and it comes down, and it goes back up. So I think I just want these two to probably come down. Oops. Yeah. I don't really know what I'm doing. Something like this. I'm not even sure if this makes sense. Okay, yeah, so for this curve, I think what you kind of want is that when the character is at the most extreme, again, it sort of just like hangs there for a little bit. So you want these the keyframes either side to really be sort of close, and just yeah, give it a bit more time there. And then when it comes down, again, it should kind of hang around this point here. So I'm probably just going to drag this one up and yeah, maybe drag this one up like this. And now it's kind of looking a bit more uniform. Yeah, so it kind of pauses at the extremes. The arms sort of swing past the middle of the body very quickly. This gradient here is it's quite steep, and then it sort of slows down and hangs around that bit for a long time, and then it quickly swings past back the middle of the body, and then hangs around again. So yeah, I'll just create that curve roughly similar for both of them. So again, just want to probably move this one up a little bit more somewhere. Oops, this one's also mirrored, so I need to move them both at the same time. And yeah, move this one down some more. I'll move this one back up. Yeah, something kind of more like that. Maybe move this. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think, yeah, that looks a little bit better. And yeah, I've basically deleted all of the other channels from this bone. So all I'm now controlling is the Y rotation, which is, yeah, this twist around the shoulder. Cool. So just quickly for the last bit, I'm going to now, so you can see that the arm is basically moving back on these frames. So I'm just going to swing. Well, first of all, yeah, I just want the base sort of position for the arm to be somewhere like that, and similarly somewhere like that, because your elbow is not normally fully straight. Your arm has always got some kind of kink in it. And then when the arm moves back, I'm just going to swing the forearm back just ever so slightly, and similarly for this one, just swing that forward. And now the arm is moving forward, so I'm basically just going to do the opposite, swing this forward and swing this one back. And as the arm moves forward, just keep basically doing this just very subtly on every frame. The arm is still going forward, just move it forward and then move this one back. arm is still going forward, so swing that forward and swing this one back. And now the arm is going back, so I'll just do the opposite way. Swing that back, swing this forward, swing this back, swing this one forward, and swing this one back, and swing this one forward. Yeah, that should add just like a little bit more dynamic to the arm. I don't really know if it helped a hell of a lot. Maybe I didn't do it enough. So what you can do now is actually select one of these bones, the forearm bone. You can go to the rotation and you can just start scaling this stuff. So if you want it to swing more, then you just scale it on the y-axis, which is really cool. So I'm just going to add a cycles modifier again to this. Although, yeah, it's not in the it's not actually cycling. I think yeah, I just need to. So it goes down, goes back up. I think it's basically need to pull these ones down, and then pull this back down. Maybe I could pull these up somewhat. And now if I add a cycles modifier, it's pretty much in the same place. I think I just want this one to come down slightly. Yeah, something like that. Maybe bring this up a little bit more. This one down a little bit more. You really just want like smooth curves here. So adjust these tangents maybe. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you can now see the elbow is swinging a bit more freely. So that's kind of okay for that arm, and probably just needs to do the same for this one. So yeah, is it the Z rotation? If I just grab that, yeah, that's the one. So if I just scale that on the y-axis, again, we can get a bit more swing out of the arm. Yeah, that looks cool. And yeah, I just need to make these a bit more cyclical. So probably just move this up somewhat and move these down. If I add a cycle modifier here, grab this, just try to like smooth these out. I wish Blender could automatically figure out these tangents. It's a little bit annoying having to modify that manually. Okay, so I just found out this feature Blender has. If I have these keyframes selected here, you can see that the tangents are they're just completely free, like they're not connected to each other, and they don't they're not very smooth. Like you kind of want them to kind of automatically align to each other like that. So what you can do is actually select all of the keyframes in the graph, and then right click and go to handle type, and then go to automatic, and now Blender will automatically adjust, I think, like the adjacent handles. Like if I move this keyframe around, basically the surrounding handle tangents are automatically updated, and that just gives it a much smoother look to the curve, which will definitely help in making your animations look smooth. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this tutorial. If you have any suggestions on how I could improve the look of my animation, I'd love to hear it, because yeah, I'm just getting started out myself with this stuff. So yeah, if you've got any kind of advice or anything on things that I might be missing from this this character, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Ka kite!